Sometime in the last 6 months, you probably sat in a dentist's chair. Maybe it was a routine checkup. Maybe it was something more specific, a filling, a crown, a conversation about a tooth that was doing something it shouldn't. And if you've had a cavity, you probably assumed, without thinking too hard about it, that this was just part of being human, that teeth decay, that this is normal, that the solution is fluoride toothpaste and twice yearly cleanings and the occasional intervention from someone with a drill. Here is what almost nobody tells you. For the vast majority of human history, cavities were extraordinarily rare, not managed, not treated, rare. Archaeologists excavating the remains of hunter-gatherer populations from before the agricultural revolution consistently find teeth that are worn, cracked, and heavily used, but almost entirely free of the decay that fills modern dental waiting rooms. The teeth of people who lived 10,000 years ago look, in terms of cavity prevalence, almost nothing like yours. Something changed, and the change was not gradual, and it was not subtle, and it did not happen because of anything wrong with your teeth specifically. It happened because of something your ancestors did about 10,000 years ago that altered the relationship between the human mouth and the human diet in a way that has been compounding ever since. Let's start with what a cavity actually is, because the mechanism tells you exactly where it comes from. A cavity is the result of acid erosion of tooth enamel, produced by specific bacteria living in your mouth. The primary culprit is a bacterium called Streptococcus mutans. S. mutans feeds on fermentable carbohydrates, particularly sugars and refined starches, and produces lactic acid as a metabolic byproduct. That acid dissolves the calcium phosphate crystals that make up tooth enamel, creating the progressive erosion we call tooth decay. The more fermentable carbohydrates available, the more S. mutans proliferates, the more acid it produces, the more enamel erodes. The relationship is direct and well established. Cavities are not primarily a problem of dental hygiene, though hygiene matters at the margins. They are primarily a problem of bacterial load and substrate availability, and substrate availability is entirely a function of diet. Dental anthropologist Alan Goodman at Hampshire College, who has spent decades studying the relationship between diet and dental health in ancient populations, has documented the transition with striking clarity. In populations studied from before the agricultural revolution, cavity rates typically run between 0 and 2% of teeth examined. In populations from immediately after the adoption of agriculture, cavity rates jump to between 10 and 15%. In populations from the modern industrialized era, rates in some demographic groups exceed 50%. This is not a gradual drift. It is a pattern with a clear inflection point, located precisely at the moment when humans shifted from eating what they could hunt and gather to eating what they could grow. The reason is straightforward. Hunter-gatherer diets were high in protein, fiber, and fat, and low in fermentable carbohydrates. Meat, fish, nuts, roots, leaves, seasonal fruits. None of these provide the sustained carbohydrate substrate that S. mutans needs to proliferate to cavity-producing levels. Agricultural diets introduced something that had never been a significant part of the human diet in its evolutionary history: